WFAA breaking news now.
We begin with breaking news overnight. The U.S. and Israel have launched strikes on Iran, targeting its leadership and escalating tensions across the Middle East. This video you see shows plumes of smoke rising over Iran's capital, Tehran. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Natalie Haddad. President Trump announced the attacks early this morning, saying they are aimed at eliminating security threats from Iran. At this hour, witnesses report hearing explosions and air raid sirens. Let's get the latest from ABC's Michelle Franzen.
The strikes by Israel and the U.S. hitting targets in Tehran during the morning. Video showing large plumes of smoke billowing against the blue skies, with Iranians seemingly caught off guard. President Trump at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida making the announcement to Americans and the world.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
Earlier, Israeli officials called the strikes preemptive and issued a state of emergency, telling Israelis to be on alert due to drone and missile attacks that were sure to follow by Iran. ABC's Ian Pannell in Tel Aviv when alerts went out on Israel's app warning people to take shelter.
There was a launch in the direction of Israel. It wasn't clear which city it was aimed at, and then literally just about a minute or so ago, the haunting sound of the air raid sirens rang out.
The U.S. has spent the last few weeks building up military resources in the Middle East, sending ships, including strike carriers, destroyers, along with fighter jets, positioned throughout the region. President Trump, in his address, called Iran the top sponsor of terror and called for regime change after nearly 5 decades, saying Iran will not be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. The president also issuing a sober warning that there could be American casualties. Iran launched retaliatory strikes in the region, with the U.S. Embassy in Bahrain warning a U.S. Navy command center was targeted and Americans in Qatar told to shelter in place due to incoming missiles. President Trump, who campaigned on the pledge not to start any new wars, has now launched what could be a long campaign. Democrats were already planning to force a vote next week on a bipartisan resolution aimed at limiting the president's war powers. The resolution now taking on new urgency. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
The Pentagon is calling this Operation Fury. Some of the first strikes appear to hit areas around the offices of the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. This morning, we know the Defense Secretary and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff are at Mar-a-Lago monitoring the strikes along with President Trump. We also know Secretary of State Marco Rubio reached out to some members of Congress overnight about the strikes. Reportedly, there was a briefing about Iran ahead of the president's State of the Union address on Tuesday. Immediately following the briefing, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer told reporters, quote, "This is serious and the administration has to make its case to the American people." Meantime, Senator John Cornyn just released this statement saying for too long, Iran and its tentacles of terror have destabilized the Middle East and waged war on the West and our values. He goes on to say there is finally an opening for these dark days to come to an end.